Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome back to another week of Huskies Valorant here at Keanu Esports. I am Ancient Angel. I am here casting with my good friend, Sleepy.
Hello. I'm excited to be back and watch a team we've seen do decently well. And we're seeing them once again in NECC. We're in the regular season now. We're going to be looking at a best of 3. Our map to start it off is going to be Haven. They're going to be starting on defense. Then we'll go to Breeze, where they'll be on defense again. And then Bind will be the decider if we get there. Let's go ahead and take a look at the agent select here as we come into Haven. There's been some recent changes in what certain teams like to pick, but I will say I do think we're going for pretty much the meta, or the breach meta rather, that we had very popular early on in this year.
Yeah, 100%. This has been the popular meta. You see the Sova in the breach, that double initiator, solo controller split between Astra and Omen. Fun fact, I looked at the stats recently. Astra has a higher win rate percentage over Omen on this map. I just found this out literally like today. On Haven and Lotus, Astra has a higher win rate percentage than Omen. So expect to see Chris M. We already know that Chris M is a demon on the Astra, on the Viper, so I wouldn't be surprised if he just goes crazy again today. A couple key players to look out for in this match. I would definitely, obviously, I'm always gonna shout out my boy Chris M. I'm gonna give a little shout to Savo and Tiny as well. Savo having a great game in the NECC activation towards the later two best of ones in that NECC activation, and Tiny actually going crazy this past Saturday for Red Bull Campus Clutch Open Qualifier, Canadian Open Qualifier number 2. So if Tiny can keep that momentum in now on Monday from Saturday, I mean, it feels like a lock, right? We are playing today against the Northern Alberta Institute of Technology. Here we go. Pistol round in. Toucan gets shot by Chris M. Bondo with a huge 2 on the site. Pro is able to take care of Bondo and leaves it to a 2v3 as the remaining NAIT players push through garage and now onto C. Caro now planting default on the C site, and it's a 2v3 on the retake in the pistol round. Sleepy, what are their shots here? What's the odds?
I'm gonna be honest, they're gonna be trying to hold this choke point, which is pretty much what you want to try and do. Doubling up the pick. Though Savo gonna trade it off, so it's still gonna be player advantage. They're just trying to abuse that choke point, but at this point, yeah, that wraparound comes through from Senja. They've been able to take that fight a little bit better. There was definitely an opportunity for the possible 2v3 clutch out there, but Keanu just is going to play the way you typically play on this map, sending some players to garage, and then they're able to win that 2v2 that ended up in C-Link, so it just ended up flowing their way pretty quickly for Keanu to end that one out, although it did start a little bit slower just because there was that aggression in B, and I will say Keanu did a good job of shutting it down, and I did like that we saw Alberta decide to rotate over towards that C site, just because we see a lot of teams sometimes push in and then they get shut down early and continue to push in and just lose their lives that way.
And here we go into round 2. It's an anti-eco, so expect a little bit slower playing from NAIT as Senja and Chris M doubled up here on the C site. Actually, it's a 3-stack on the C site. Tiny there towards that C-Link CT area. Savo posted on his angle of a main, waiting for someone to peek as he can just gun him down with that Bulldog in ADS. Now Funk sending out that dart towards long. I don't think it's scanned Savo. Savo is flashed off the angle though, as now Bondo looks in towards short to try and re-clear. It feels just like they're really trying to play for a single pick on the side of NAIT. Bondo using his drone, re-clearing. He either saw something or is just pointing something out. Seems like it's going to be a B commit that we see so often on anti-ecos. Senja backs up. It's a 5v5 retake here on the side of the Huskies.
Spike planted.
Tiny looking possibly to send in that aftershock. He doesn't. Instead, Trusty Toucan and Kieran combine huge for 2, but Chris M, Tiny, and Senja are able to stabilize. Chris M with another. Bondo picks up 1. Is that how clean of an anti-eco is that?
I mean, losing 2 isn't great, but you still keep the majority, which is really the goal on those anti-ecos. And they did have a few of their players. Keanu had a few of their players taking a bit of an eco, still not pushing that anti-eco by. So I believe they should be able to get some good guns in their hands, and it's definitely going to be a tough fight going to this round for NAIT. Despite being on a full buy, they're going to be up against a pretty solid gunfight. I will say, again, I do like the way NAIT is playing. They were trying to find that pick, knowing that they needed to try and find a pick before they pushed into a site. They tried to do that early on A. They weren't able to come up with anything, which is why they just felt the need to hard commit into B. And because they were evened out in that 5v5 against better guns, it was just going to be a difficult play.
For sure. And now we see this A main default coming in on the side of NAIT. Toucan immediately in towards a short. Following that drone, Bondo is going to be posted up, going to try and catch a timing. The drone runs out, peeks it, and he's able to get the kill onto Toucan. What an opener for Bondo. As now that's the smokes. That's the smokes gone. That's it. There's no more of them. Tiny jump spotting in towards long. Rirkin and Kieran here looking at those chokes, waiting to see if Keanu will be aggressive. We see Chris M posted in the pocket in towards C as Caro starts to make his way in towards garage with Brazy.
Could be a clean execute onto C through that garage. That util's not really there on the side of Keanu to watch that garage push. They're still gonna be testing more into that A.
This is the classic NRG like
30 seconds
default
left.
towards A. This definitely feels like they want to end A, but I don't think the Huskies are really falling for it. They're staying at A, and I think they're actually being able to read this now. Kieran able to just absolutely show up. Tried to turn up into the site. Ruriken eventually trades out Bondo. Tiny pushing Caro out of the corner.
Left.
Brazy's able to find one onto Chris M. Senja finding one onto Ruriken on that A site. There's no time. It's a 3v2. That's 2 players from NAIT having to save. Senja and Savo able to pick up better guns, and that's a 3-0 start for the Huskies.
Yeah, Keanu did such a good job of, again, finding that early pick, Bondo. That was probably the most impactful moment of the round, because at that point, you just had NAIT trying to, like, switch around a little bit. Like you said, they wanted to end A, and they were testing a little bit into C, hoping that maybe cutting sound and moving around a little bit could bait out Keanu to another site. But unfortunately for them, Chris M was pushed deep down C long, and because of that, they had good vision on where these players might be headed, so they knew they weren't going C. So it's just an easy commit to that A site for Keanu.
Now Savo on the off, in towards C long. Kieran is able to cross, and Savo gives up that flat angle. The recon dart is broken, so they don't know where he is, but that dash has been burned, and Toucan in towards the cubby alongside Kieran. As Caro walking up mid, it seems like a garage, it seems like a C split in towards the garage. Chris M. There's no commit. We're back to a neutral stay. Have you noticed anything, Sleepy?
I mean, this is the same thing, a similar thing we saw last round. It just seems NAIT struggles early in the rounds and then can't adapt to that.
Wow, huge double kill out of Bondo. Senja able to pick one up as well. He does get traded out by Caro in mid, but they know it's Trusty Toucan. Opens up the C site. Gets the kill by Sebo, but Chris M able to find Caro on that interception.
30 seconds
Past garage, it's Trusty Toucan, 1v3, 30 seconds on the clock, and Spike is in the hands of the Huskies. They don't know where he could have been, so he does have that little bit of lurking surprise, but as he now tries to clear out spawn, does Tiny see him, and does Tiny take the fight? He starts clearing. Toucan, no, it's a save. This Bondo.
10 seconds left.
Oh, just missed the shot. Trusty Toucan able to take out Bondo. Moment of silence for the fallen operator. as now that's a 4th round for the Huskies. And we move in what to presumably will be another eco.
Yeah, Keanu is doing such a good job of denying that early information, or rather early substance that is trying to be found by NAIT. As NAIT tries to find those early picks, tries to find a bit more value in those early rounds. They sort of just got denied in that round. The smokes, they were denied a lot of vision. They were trying to test down into C, but they just couldn't see anything. And so they were sort of just left with, okay, we can't commit the way we wanted to. We can't execute the way that we were planning on executing. And so then they tried to do other stuff, but they were playing very slowly. And I think that might be a pattern NAIT doesn't want to continue to follow through with, because they test in the early round, get denied by Keanu, and then they try and adapt and go elsewhere, but they can't really do it in a fashion that is quick enough to make an impact on the round.
Yeah, it was a super rough round out of the side of NAIT, and I don't really know if there is I don't really know what the answer is at this point. It just feels like everyone is playing near perfect on the side of Keanu, and maybe you're just gonna have to use that breach util just to force people off of angles, take a little bit of space, and hope that when Kieran dashes into the site, he's able to find something more.
Yeah, for sure. I do think NAIT needs to maybe be a little bit more aggressive. I think they need to commit more in these pushes, because they're sort of uncommittal and it's hurting them.
Dueling fault lines go out as Caro ready to flash out Kieran to clear out a long. The smoke is in towards short, as is the drone, as Brazy looks in towards garage, as there's 3 players here. You have the KJ turret, you have Tiny, and you have Chris M all sitting here. Did Tiny see him? No, Tiny was just outside of garage, as Chris M now holding the doors. If Brazy peeks this, surely he's a dead man, right? Toucan takes care of the turret in towards C, which is going to force someone to move out of garage as Chris stays posted. Bondo peeking towards short, doesn't find anything. Starting to jiggle long. Kieran's posted on the angle. Ooh, he isn't able to hit the headshot, and Savo misses the op shot. So it's about an even trade, but the information does favor the Huskies currently. They have 2 players posted on this A site. They know the op is here. Caro getting ready to flash for his team. That's his fault line, sorry. As the Omen teleports into heaven using the From the Shadows. Savo dashing away from hell. And he's able to get the collat! And he goes into the smoke with a shorty! Savo, don't do it! The no-scope barely misses. Bondo's able to finish the round. 5-0 flawless for Keanu.
Yeah, I think getting a flawless against an eco is such a... I mean, that's exactly what you want to be doing to prove your team that can make an impact. And NAIT continues. Obviously, that's a pistol. Maybe they're going to switch it up now that they're on a bye, but they sort of did what they had been doing previously. They played very slowly, cut sound, and then the time pressure was applied to them, and they had to execute quickly, and they could not.
It was definitely a rough side, but now here we go. Dueling fault lines back in. Savo immediately pushed off of that Sewers angle as Caro has been tagged by the Hunter's Fury, but does not get taken out. Bondo using that owl drone to re-explore towards a long, and he sees the enemy's owl drone in kind. Trusty Toucan is able to spam out Senja on the C site, though. That's so huge. Chris M is kind of on him as we see NAIT start to rotate in. Chris M isn't able to get the spray, and that's the 2 opening picks to the side of NAIT. Hondo has so much info on A, but as the spike gets planted on B and Tiny communicates, it already feels like a super difficult retake. Tiny looking in towards garage. Brazy is posted, and it doesn't get cleared by Rukin. But Brazy is able to jump out of the crates just in time to find Tiny. Bondo isn't able to find anything, and it's Savo 1v5. Does he go for it? Is this... No. It's a save.
Yeah.
Surely. Just misses the op shot, and there it is. It's done.
Yeah,
What happened?
that was That was a little bit more proactive from Nate this time around. But the main thing is Nate did what they needed to do in all of those previous rounds, which is they found value early. That pick on C was really all they needed to start an aggression into any site, really. Once they had that number advantage, they could do, again, what they've been trying to do. You could tell in the previous rounds that they would early on look for a pick, and then they just couldn't find it. Keanu denied that, and then they just were at a loss for what to do. But this time around, Nate is able to find that pick. They can rotate over to C off of that, and they're able to push on. So very proactive from Nate. I like exactly what they did there. If they can continue to find that early contact, we may see these executes go a little bit better for them. Or we could see some good adaptability if they can't find that info.
Yeah, now this round, it's either going to be Nate trying to catch up or Keanu stabilizing off the back as we see this heavy C aggression and a lot of players on the side of Nate in towards C. Savo, no dash available anymore as he's posted up towards logs. And look how much info Bondo and Tiny have in towards A. Does Tiny go for this peek? Oh, if he does, Kieran's pre-aiming it, but Bondo's able to find the first onto Caro. Swings out for the second, but he isn't able to find it. Tiny, oh, just barely isn't able to find a third, but he is able to find Brazy on the way out. Trusty Toucan on the jiggle isn't able to get hit by Savo, or Savo isn't able to hit him. Has Senja now looking in towards the B site.
Here.
Just to cover, and Chris M over by A. I feel like normally we see Chris M over by C, but now because Savo gets scanned by the recon bolt, isn't able to fall off. The execute comes in. Kieran dashed on site. Toucan paranoid out.
Spike planted.
3v3 on the retake. Kieran able to find Senja on the spray. Savo trades out for a Vandal. They're going for this. But Toucan's already on the wrap from Garage. This feels like Keanu have to make this move now, or else Toucan's going to be able to find them. Savo's able to find Ruriken, but Toucan on the backstab pushes out CT and is able to find Chris M. It's a second round for Nate.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Keanu got a little bit overconfident or what, but definitely in that round was very apparent. Their mechanical skill wasn't as apparent there. Typically we see Keanu on top of it, but they just had some pivotal whips that could have turned the round back in their favor. Nate did a really good job of, although they weren't able to find that early numbers advantage they may have wanted, they still were able to play their numbers and play a good strategy when it came down to it and pushing into C. And again, those whiffs came through from Keanu, and Nate was able to punish.
Crazy conspiracy theory. What if they were just practicing spray control? That was all that round is. Bondo now peering in towards long, just taking the jiggles. The owl drone flushing Savo out of short. Is now they return Savo and Bondo. This duo extraordinaire returns just to try and peek out Bondo with an insane double tap. Oh my goodness, and that's Spike. Trusty Toucan gonna try and stabilize the round. He's able to find Bondo, but Savo is able to trade him out in kind. Tiny jump spotting towards A long, so Savo does know that Kieran is here. Breezy's able to find Senja. And Kieran's able to find Savo. It's a 2v2. Tiny barely able to find Kieran in that spray through the smoke. And Spike is down. Brazy 1v2. Chris M and Tiny alive. I think I have seen this round before. Chris M and Tiny alive in a 2v1 with Spike down. I might have, as if Brazy clears this angle. Oh,
30 seconds left.
Chris M just got a little too overzealous on the spray, but he's able to find Breezy, and that's the 6th round for the Huskies. Ooh, that got a little scary there. My toes were curled.
Yeah, it seems as long as Bondo is the one to make first contact, then the mechanical skill difference doesn't matter. And Keanu is able to find those early picks and deny that vision, which is exactly what we saw there. This time around, Nate wasn't able to find that early info, that early contact, the numbers advantage they needed to execute, and slowly they just fell one by one by one. So if Nate can pick it up, maybe be able to trade each other off a bit better, they could see a good round in their favor.
Yeah, but you see Trusty Toucan immediately with from the shadows in CT spawn. He's able to catch out Bondo. Kieran with a kill on the Blade Storm, and Caro with a kill onto Senja. It leaves Tiny alone to try and defend this site. He falls off the back of that flashpoint and the dark cover, smoking off CT. As Tiny tries to peer back in through heaven, he's going to be able to push Kieran out, but Brazy is able to spam him. Chris M alone on the flank. Is he able to find Ruriken?
Team ace.
Barely not. It's a team ace for NAIT, and it's 6-3. Does this give you any confidence?
I will say this was a good change-up from the side of NAIT, where they had sort of, again, up until this point, still going for a little bit of that slower, more methodical play style. And this time around, they just execute quickly. They go for the decision to send from the shadows towards that CT side, and they're able to cash in on it. The defensive side just completely unexpecting the Omen in their spawn, and you know what? Maybe NAIT can get it tied up before we move into the next half.
It's entirely possible. Savo tries to go big, isn't able to find anything as Ruriken is able to take him down, but Bondo with the Hunter's Fury, and Senja with the classic. Bondo's able to find two with the Hunter's Fury, and he still has the Sheriff. Tiny, peeking out with that Ghost, able to clear out bottom mid. The Owl Drone does come in. I don't think it's spotted Bondo, which means Ruriken has no clue that Bondo's just holding here outside lobby. It's Trusty Toucan now coming in on this flank in garage. If Tiny steps just a little bit back, he's gonna get spammed, but Trusty Toucan with the spam, the spray, and Chris M is able to take care of Ruriken. That is a thrifty for the Huskies.
Yeah, it's always a thrifty whenever I start coping for the losing team. They get thriftied every single time. You see that happen here. NAIT sort of denied in that type of aggression they were going for. It was an eco from the side of Keanu. Again, that's why it's a thrifty. And they were going for a bit of a more aggressive type of play where they're pushing out a bit more into the offense. And that mid fight just ended pretty poorly for this side of NAIT. And then they had a 2v3. They had better guns, but they weren't able to find the kills that they needed.
Yeah, kills nigh, but Chris M sitting here at C as Senja and Savo have doubled up short. Savo, he's able to find the only kill in the round onto Kieran, and he's able to go big for 3 off the gravity well from Chris M. Savo, 9 bullets. At this point, he might just. He sees Trusty Toucan. The flashpoint comes out. That's a 4th kill for Savo. Ruriken is able to deny the ace with the crispy 1-taps onto Savo. Chris M in the spawn isn't able to find the kill. Ruriken 1 versus 5 isn't able to get it done. Senja closes it down. It's an 8th round for the Huskies, and as we go into this last half, let's assume that NAIT is able to put together this round, right, Sleepy? Do they? Yeah. Is that enough? Is that enough on the Switch?
Haven 3-site map, a bit offense-sided. You're gonna have an easier time on the offense, and unfortunately for NAIT, they started on the offense. So as we switch sides, they're not going to find it easy to make a comeback, but 4-8 isn't completely unwinnable. You know, it's better than 9-3 or 10-2. So I do think NAIT still has an opportunity if their defense is better than what they've put up on this offense.
As we see the recall by Chris M. Bondo broke that early recon bolt for Savo. So Savo's just playing in this cubby. Bondo jiggling out A, nothing really being found. 2 players from NAIT are trying to look in towards C, make it now 4, as it seems like this C split is about to come in. Chris M, the only one able to sit here and anchor the site. Senja now peering in towards garage, making sure that no one has a timing, but as the Rolling Thunder comes into the C site, he doesn't get cleared. Chris M in the smoke for 2. He's able to get out and just tag up Kieran. Doesn't get the 3rd, but still numbers are now in favor of the Huskies. Even as Brazy pushes out garage, he gets stunned by the fault line, and Savo dashes in to get the kill. Trusty Toucan gets Tiny as he pushes into garage. Senja, with the lockdown, is able to start applying that pressure. The Owl Drone comes out and is taken care of by Kieran. Trusty Toucan sitting in this back corner here. Bondo starts to defuse. The spike is half. It's up to Kieran. Isn't able to close it out. Savo with 3 on the round, and defenders win the half 9-3. That is right. At the half, Huskies are up 9-3.
Switching sides.
Yeah, at this point, NAIT just gonna have to hope this curse is on their side, as this defense is gonna need to be much better than we've seen teams put up against Keanu in the past. Keanu, so far on Haven, has had a pretty decent run. I'm going to be honest, I haven't seen very many losses for Keanu Valorant as a whole, let alone on Haven as a map. So we know this offense is very powerful. We've seen Savo already do very well, and that's their duelist. So as they go for these entry plays, I do think Savo is going to be able to make this impact. Nate's going to have to put up the best defense I've seen in a while, just shutting down. Be a wall in this defense. Do not let the penetration come through that Keanu will be trying to make into these sites.
100% Tiny. Looking to actually send this fault line in towards B at the start of the round. This feels just like a classic pistol round. Let's just hit B as Chris M ready to place his star for Savo to dash into. Savo updrafts a little bit too early. This feels like a cancel immediately just to try and push some people over. Bondo isn't able to close out and get that pick on the Toucan, but Tiny is able to get the trade as the players from Keanu are headed onto the C site for a plant. It's a 4v4 on the retake. Senja, just trying to bait out some utility, now commits to the plant as Tiny and Chris M are in towards Garage, where this retake seems to be taking place, as you do have Kero peeking in towards Garage. There's Kieran, able to get the back. 2v1, Savo's flashed. He isn't able to get the trade. Chris M is, though. He's able to go big for 2. Senja's able to find Ruriken, and now it's just Brazy. 2v1, Chris M and Senja. These anchor players, are they able to hold it down? Senja with the classic, Brazy with the Sheriff, Chris M doesn't peek. It's Senja who's able to get the kill, and that puts Keanu onto 10.
Yeah, if there's a round Nate needed, that might have been the most important, was if they'd gotten that pistol, that could have been the start of a good comeback. Take advantage of that 9-3. I don't. You see very few 9-3 curses. One, if that team on the 3 rounds doesn't get the pistol, there's a very low chance that they're able to make this comeback. So Nate's definitely not going to be looking great. Looks like they're just going to take an eco, so the anti-eco could come out from Keanu with very minimal pushback. So this could just allow them to waltz right into that 11-3.
Waltz into it they could, as Trusty Toucan jump spotting in towards the C site. Bondo, let's see this lineup.
Revealing area.
What's he able to do? Where does it land? It lands in more towards that C side as it gets destroyed, so they don't have the scans in towards. But Chris M isn't able to find the kill as he gets blinded by Toucan's paranoia, but Savo and Tiny are able to combine on the site for 3 kills. It's just Ruriken and Kieran. 2v4 on the retake. Kieran alone with that Sheriff. Ruriken is able to get some nice chip damage onto Tiny. Bondo at 5 HP. Recon Bolt comes in. Tiny still playing in towards Garage, but they've doubled up out CT. Savo able to find the first onto Kieran, and a third in the round onto Ruriken.
Yeah, Antica goes well. 4 out of 5 players remaining for Keanu, and that means 4 out of 5 going to keep their guns. Everyone should have a pretty decent, at least half-buy type of gun from the side of Keanu. This is going to be a very tough fight, and you even see on the side of Nate, not all of them are even going to have those full-buy rifles. You got Brazy with a Guardian, so they're not even doing the best on their economy right now, so it's although still a bit of a gun advantage for Nate, it's not going to be an easy fight, to say the very least.
It's an uphill battle for Nate Ooks Blue as they're headed into what is up against match point. Senja barely able to see Trusty Toucan, but Bondo's able to spray him out through the smoke in long. Brazy's able to find 2 with that Guardian that you were just talking about. Tiny's able to equalize. It's a 2v2 on the retake, and it's a mirror match on both sides. Ruriken using that Owl Drone to start clearing out CT. Tiny using the Aftershock to delay, and he's able to get the kill onto Ruriken. It's just Kero in a 1v2. Tiny's health is low, so there is a chance to equalize here as the Owl Drone from the Huskies comes out now. Kero in towards CT. If Tiny doesn't be careful here, but Kero's able to get the spray transfer. What a beautiful spray out of Kero, and he's able to gift clutch, save that round for Nate to continue this map.
Yeah, beautiful clutch, and now that could be the inspiration to bring NAIT further on. They're gonna have a tough time getting that bye together just because they did lose the majority of their players. But Keanu just lost that 2v1, so there's definitely a chance here for NAIT to try and make this a possibility. Keanu haven't been having the best map so far. They've had some whiffs on certain players, so NAIT could try and punish that as we just saw in that 1v2. We'll see if this could be the opportunity to get NAIT climbing back up this hill.
As we now see the Huskies moving in towards short. This is a really quick short take. The Aftershock does come out, so it does push Savo away as Caro looks to respond in kind towards short. The Owl drone on the side of Hurricane does start to clear out a lot of these close angles on short. Savo with the spray does have to fall back, but Tiny takes the place. Now, we do see Bondo with the spike here, looking in towards garage, maybe just watching for a push. He does see the turret, and he does get the spam out. Now, Senja, just watching in towards mid, as it seems like this is an A commit on the side of Kieno. Yeah, the pings are coming in. I think we know what this means. 2 players have already been inserted in towards short. It's probably just a flash and dash on the side of Savo and Tiny. The Rolling Thunder actually comes in as Savo updrafts onto the site. He does end up getting stunned, but the smokes are in. Bondo planting on the front side of those crates. And it's a full 5v5 retake. Tiny with that stun, ready to rip it whenever. Chris M watching heaven, Bondo watching for that recon dart. Couple of these players on the side of NAIT don't have super good rifles, but they're waiting on this flank from Brazy. It's gonna be on Brazy to make a big impact here as the rest of the retake execute comes in. Chris M, Bondo, and Savo each able to find one. Ruriken and Brazy are able to find one on the flank. It's just Brazy, 1v2 yet again. Chris M and Savo onto the site.
Wow.
Brazy tries to run through the smoke, but Chris M is able to get his 3rd of the round and close it out. Match point for the Huskies.
Match point.
Yeah, that was a pivotal round. Again, NAIT needed to continue to get these rounds. And when you're down 4-11, you can at least still see a potential, you can allow 1 round of room, but you still want to be getting a good win streak going. But 12-4 is not an easy number to look at. That's 8 in a row they're going to have to make, and they've only got half of that this entire map. So you do see Keanu with 12-4. They've been able to execute well. NAIT just sort of let them onto the A site, and retaking on A is very difficult on defense, especially if the team knows exactly how to shut down your retake.
And it seems just like a C rush here out of Keanu, as the rest of NAIT actually went for this really aggro push down mid. The spike's getting planted. It's a 5v5 on the retake. As Savo and Tiny are able to push in towards garage, and they're able to find the pick that gives numbers towards Keanu. Caro's out of the round. Kieran is able to find one with the Blade Storm. As Hurricane tries to take a pick in towards garage, he isn't able to find anything. Tiny spams him out through the wall, but Brazy with a huge headshot collat as Kieran looks in towards the C site. Senja having to play around the box. Senja in a 1v1 with Brazy, and he's able to close it out 13-4. Huskies take the first map of Haven.
I don't know how many times I've looked at a score line where Keanu has gone 13-4. It just seems like this is consistent across the board. 13-4, 13-5 is typically what we see from this side of Keanu. And Haven is not going to change that here. And NAIT not going to change that here on Haven. We do still have Breeze coming up. I do want to highlight there were some good moments, that clutch that came out from Caro. Despite going only 6-13 the whole map, they still were able to find that 1v2 clutch. And it does give me hope maybe NAIT will be able to put something up on Breeze. Yeah.
100% agree. I do, really quick, want to give a shout out to Bondo and Savo, going absolutely crazy. I said these were 2 of the guys you want to watch out for. Savo, especially on that duelist, he's looking sharp. Bondo, IGL, Sova, top ACS of 293, going crazy.
Yeah.
Everyone seems to be hitting their shots today. For those of you that don't know, this is NECC regulation season, so it is not the activation. It is a best of 3 against NAIT. We will be back shortly with our second map of the series, Breeze.
back once again. It's going to be Keanu versus Northern Alberta Institute of Technologies, Ooks, Blue. I am one of your casters, Sleepy, and I'm joined by Ancient Angel. How are you feeling about Breeze?
I'm a Breeze fan. I'm not gonna lie. I really do enjoy this map, especially when we see now that it's being welcomed back into the map pool. We see this kind of different variety of comps that we're seeing. We see on the side of Keanu already locked in, Tiny moving over to the Yoru, and solo Viper controller Chris M alongside Senja moving over to the Cypher as opposed to the Killjoy. I think this is a super interesting comp. We've seen a couple teams run it, especially in that tier 3 scene in towards Breeze. And the other major comp that we've seen a fair bit of is that swamp comp. It's that Viper, Harbor, double controller, walls galore, Viper's Pit, Reckoning, going into sites, going crazy. But it seems that NAIT is actually planning on a double initiator double controller comp. We see Kieran hovering the Jet, Caro on Sky, Ruriken on KO, Toucan on Viper, and Brazy on Harbor. Interesting. I haven't seen this before. I've seen double controller, but I have not seen double controller and double initiator. This is
I think I can understand not going for that Sentinel role. There's it's a little bit harder to use KJ on some of the other, when you're looking at comparing it to other maps. And then you can definitely find a place for Cypher. But I think if a Sentinel is going to be used, I would expect teams to maybe try and go for that chamber. But yeah, I wasn't really expecting this double initiator, double controller either. I was definitely expecting more of this, double controller with Viper Harbor. I do kind of like Yoru on this map. I don't know. How do you feel about Yoru? I'm sort of getting used to him coming in on a lot of maps.
Yeah, I liked seeing this Yoru, especially out of Tiny. Tiny just kind of has this ability to just do tiny things, right? He sometimes will just be like, yeah, you know what? I'm just gonna like walk into this random gap in the defense on a whim, and he's just able to get away with something like that. Now we see Senja setting up towards this A site. We talked about this a little bit during RBCC. The advantage that this Cypher has on Breeze. Because of the rotations and how much he's able to see. Now we see Savo and Tiny using this aggression in towards A. Toucan's already up. Savo able to get that pick as now Tiny is able to upgrade into a ghost. Bondo's able to find Kieran as the site hit comes in, but Caro is able to find Chris M in kind. Tiny immediately teleporting over to B. He's able to find 3 on the round, just completely close it out. This is what I'm talking about. Tiny does tiny things.
Yeah, I think a lot of players or a lot of teams, at least early on in this year especially, were hesitating about Yoru. He can be a more selfish agent, but as we see these sort of nerfs come to Jet, you sort of do like to see a supporting duelist, and I do think Yoru, especially the way Tiny's using him, if you're finding those kills, you're playing Yoru well, and the flashes can be used with your team as well, so there's a lot of good ways to set your team up, and I expect to see Tiny pulling that out.
100%. Savo in towards mid as Tiny just flashes out of that wall, and Savo isn't able to find anything. Ruriken, while he is low, he is able to find the pick, and that's number advantage for NAIT. Kieran now looking in towards A main as the rest, it seems like this is just going to be a commit, but both of the controllers are over by mid. So I wonder if Trusty Toucan and Brazy have something in mind. Tiny pulling out the ghost, isn't able to find much. His teleport is still over by B, so he is ready to rotate at a moment's notice. The decoy comes out as Trusty Toucan is just able to sit on those boxes in top mid. Now, he does get cleared by the drone. And no damage done by that spam on Tiny. Senja moving in, able to find one. Tiny able to grab Kieran as he dashes onto site as well. Chris M getting his piece of the pie. Now they push in towards A main. They're getting a little silly. Bondo able to find Trusty Toucan, and Senja able to spam Brazy down. And that is an anti-eco for Keanu.
Yeah, again, you'd probably want the majority or a good portion of your players. 3 out of 5, sorry, is not bad. I would have liked to see 4 out of 5, but Keanu still wins it, gets the anti-eco win. They should have at least 4 to the 5 of their players with those sort of half-buy guns and half-buy rifles. Meanwhile, on the other side, we've got NAIT able to get up that full buy. They were able to take out 2 of the players for Keanu, so that does make it a little bit easier for them in this round. I want to see them maybe executing a little bit faster onto these sites because playing time hasn't worked out in these past 2 rounds.
100%. Now, Senja is a little bit late to the setup, but I don't really think it matters too much. Kero immediately going to be looking to send that Trailblazer out onto the A site, as Bondo has been investigating in towards mid alongside the duelist duo of Savo and Tiny. Now, Savo does dash away as the guiding light comes in and it reveals a couple players. There's no one in towards this B site, but Bondo is able to find trusty Toucan as he tries to push out Elbow. Very interesting. Now, as we return to a more neutral state of the board, what is the move for NAIT?
You're down a player. We've seen them struggle when they're at this sort of down a number. I think they sort of just need to execute onto a site. Honestly, they struggle to do that in some of these rounds when they get down players. So I just want to see them try and just push in, try to overwhelm. You're going to have a numbers advantage if you all push in at the same time. It could be dangerous, but I do think that might be what NAIT needs. And they do have better guns here, so I expect to see it.
Now the execute does come in. Kieran dashes into the smoke, and he's able to find Chris M. Senja is able to respond onto Kieran, but as this side hit comes in, Senja does get hit out. Tiny, flashing through the harbor wall, isn't able to find a pick. Kero gets his second on the round, and it's a 2v3 on the retake as the spike gets planted back towards that crab pyramid. Ruriken able to pick out Bondo as it's Savo in 1v3 with only a sheriff. What can he get done? Able to find a tag onto Ruriken. 1 bullet, 5 HP. Does he get it? He actually chooses to reload.
Oh.
Isn't able to find Ruriken as Ruriken spams him out, wall bangs him through the corner of that box. It is a first round for Brazy, but for a bonus, how are we feeling about that for the Huskies?
Similar to what I said that NAIT did well is they killed 2 of Keanu's players on that anti-eco. Similar things sort of happened here. It was a bonus from the side of Keanu, and they got 2 of the players down. I do want to say I liked that NAIT. I mean, it's exactly what you're going to see as a caster. They did exactly what I said. But at the same time, again, NAIT going to be more aggressive despite being down players. I want to see that sort of proactive play that we didn't see on Haven from them.
Yeah, and as we see proactivity happen, we see 3 players from Keanu push down Elbow immediately, Tiny and Savo clearing out Elbow immediately. Now they just choose to clear out bottom mid. And again, leaving the B site completely open. This feels almost like a gamble in a way. Bondo able to find the first pick on the Brazy. It's trusty Toucan alone. He's the only controller left. He's able to find Bondo, but Tiny able to trade back. Now, Savo and Tiny both looking in towards this B side as Chris M playing in towards A starts lurking around mid, starts clearing it out. Senja is alone on this A site. He's playing back by orange as Chris M starts to peek up from doors, isn't able to find anything. Ruriken's able to get it. It's 3v3 on the retake. That spike is going down. Senja now joined by Tiny. Ooh. Tiny with the most disgusting headshot I have seen all week. Kero. Oh, Kieran is able to find Senja, and Kero is able to find Savo. It's Tiny alone in a 1v2, and Tiny goes huge with a 4K to clutch up and find the 3rd round for Piano. Oh my goodness.
How do you recover from something like that if you are NAIT? A powerful clutch to get it going. I said I was looking forward to what Tiny could do on this Yoru. And guess what they did? They did an absolutely beautiful round on that Yoru, able to find a really nice play with that dimensional drift, coming out of it, finding 2 kills. If you play Yoru, that's exactly what you like to see. NAIT definitely trying to be a bit more aggressive early on in the round, and I will say, to their credit, they got that spike down, and they were ready to play that post plan. And honestly, had that clutch not happened, they had the numbers advantage, right? So in theory, they should have won that round if you're just looking at the numbers. You've said it so many times. They keep leaving B open from the side of Keanu, so we'll see if at some point NAIT pushes towards B, but so far they've been pretty hesitant to.
They've definitely been hesitant towards this B site, and honestly, it's just because they're afraid of my boy Chris M. He's going absolutely insane on the Viper. Savo is in towards mid. Ruriken does try and flash Savo, but he isn't able to. Kieran is not able to convert, but Ruriken does end up getting the trade with the Classic. Now Bondo is taking Savo's spot. Now he does have a Vandal in place of a Guardian. Now Brazy, is he expecting it? He is. He's able to get that pick onto Bondo. It's a 3v3, although there is a slight health advantage. Never mind, there is not. That Sky used that heal. Chris M able to take care of Ruriken anyways, and now it is Brazy and Caro in a 2v3 situation as they keep looking in towards mid. Chris M again in this bottom mid cubby area. Does it get re-cleared for a third time? Does it? No, Chris M is able to find a third on the round, but Caro does trade out. Caro, 2v1. Where are you looking if you're Caro? What's the ideal here?
I think they're worried somebody will retake that mid spot. Oh, it's
the timing. The timing barely betrays him. Senja able to spot Caro maybe, and Tiny with the goofiest of flashes is able to take care of it. 4-1 Huskies lead.
Yeah, Keanu, I mean, every round so far, they keep sending this, especially just sending their duelists. They keep sending that jet down towards mid, and that abilities allow the duelist abilities allow them to find early contact in that mid pressure that Keanu wants to apply. NAIT hasn't really been able to punish. Sometimes they take out Savo, but then they're just replaced by someone else who finds another kill. So I think they sort of need to punish Keanu in that mid hole.
Well, and we immediately see Cave get cleared out as now Tiny and Savo in towards that B site, as it seems that this rush towards B is already coming in. The Reckoning tries to happen, but Savo immediately is able to get two. Caro does trade it out, but Tiny, with one of his own, still keeps the numbers in favor of Keanu on this retake. It's Kieran and Brazy alone. The Hunter's Fury does come out to delay the plant. Brazy does get tagged. Oh, he's barely able to dodge it as Chris M is now in towards B main. He's able to find Brazy. It's Kieran. 1v3. What is he able to do? Does he avoid the Owl Drone? Oh, I think so. I don't think the Owl Drone spotted him. Nope. But Bondo, able to get the kill anyways. Doesn't even care. He's like, yeah, we didn't need the Owl Drone. It's fine.
Yeah, it seems like the only round where Keanu places two players on B, what happens? It just so happens that that's the round where NAIT rushes in. So I do think NAIT's starting to become a little bit more wary about where Keanu's been placing these players, trying to punish in. They were trying to just take advantage of, hopefully for them, an open B site, but it just wasn't. They got shut down very aggressively. That Savo, a Tiny combo has been too much for them to push through. So I'm interested to see if they'll try a similar thing here, maybe without their ults, maybe on an eco.
Yeah, it does seem that way as we now see everyone going in. Dashed into the cove for Kieran. He's able to find Chris M. Bondo's only able to get one, but Tiny able to find one as well to equalize numbers. He needs this kill into Ruriken to give the advantage. He doesn't get it. Ruriken able to give the numbers lead on this thrifty round to NAIT. Now Savo's into the site already with a Blade Storm of his own in kind. He's able to find Brazy. That's a huge first pick. Senja back. Savo able to find Ruriken. It's just Caro. 1v2. He misses the right click, but Senja's able to close it out anyways. Old dependable Senja. Able to close it out. That's 6 rounds. Guaranteed tied half. What's the odds here, Sleepy?
I mean, I'm going to be honest. The way this is looking, we've seen it before from Keanu. This is starting to look like it's going to be yet another dominant map for them. Not just dominant map, but another dominant Breeze. They've gone 13-4 on this map before, and they just went 13-4 on Haven, so there's a very real possibility they do it again on Breeze, if not a more dominant scoreline, as they do just seem to be... It's very apparent from my end that it does seem as though Keanu has a good control over the map. Any round, wherever they place these players, they're sort of able to find value. That was the first round where it looked like it wasn't the best from Keanu as far as where they placed those players and how that hold was. And honestly, this timeout comes out from NAIT, but I do think Keanu can find some value in it because they did struggle a little bit in that round. They had to end up in that situation where they're in a 2v3. against Nico, right? So they can sort of take this time to figure out where that small little weak spot was in that inability to deny the aggressive push. And we'll see if Kayano can continue to show this sort of aggressive map control they've been able to take these past few rounds.
Control is the name of the game with a double controller comp on the side of NAIT. Let's see what they're able to do here in round 8. I can't think of another rhyme here, so you know what? This is just going to have to be it. The buy phase coming in. It does seem to be a full rifle round out for Northern Alberta Institute of Technology. It seems to be a more aggressive stance toward cave. Tiny immediately with the dimensional drift immediately spots Karo and Kieran both here. I don't know if he saw Brazy or not, but he is going to see Ruriken in towards mid. Oh, Tiny gets a little too silly in towards spawn, or attacking spawn, and does get picked, which does secede numbers advantage to NAIT. Let's see if NAIT can capitalize. Bondo's able to find Ruriken, and Sabo is able to find Trusty Toucan, which gives numbers back to the side of Kiano. Brazy's able to get 2 of his own, though, and now it's a 2v3, but Chris M on the site, able to find Karo, throws down the snake bite, Karo runs into it. Oh no, this looked so good for NAIT. Brazy was able to find 2, they had numbers advantage.
Spike is here.
That vision so early on. The vision early on from Keanu, and they punished off of it. They were able to hold this A site down.
Now that spy cam was taken care of by Brazy, Chris M knows where the spike is in a cave. Senja trying to use a little bit of silly utility to bait out Brazy and force him to re-clear things he doesn't have time for. He has 20 seconds on the clock. It's a 2v1, and Spike is down in cave. What does he do? He uses his high tide immediately in towards the back of the site just to try and clear out angles. He has 10 seconds. I think he just I think it's a save, right? The save has been maybe called.
Trying to find picks, I think, before they go for this. Oh, and they do.
Yeah, he does find one, but Senja is able to respond in kind. So the save isn't coming through for Brazy. It's a 7th round for Keanu. Any standouts as of right now?
I mean, I will say, I think what I mean, Keanu showing time and time again that they have very good control over this map. You saw Tiny mess up a little bit with that ult. You saw them just come out and very carelessly. It looked very carelessly, I should say. But they were able to get such good vision that when the play started coming in towards A, Keanu was ready for it because they knew that it was an A hit because of that early vision.
Now, the attacker's Viper's Pit is in towards B, but Trusty Toucan isn't able to find Savo, as Savo just holds. Oh no, that's such a huge ult to get wasted offline. Karo tries to find Tiny in this push out of cave. He isn't able to find it. Brazy does find Chris M, as Bondo finds Kieran at the same time, and Senja gets the last 2 on the round onto Brazy and Ruriken. It's an 8th round for Keanu.
I mean, what can NAIT do? They just keep getting shut down. They've sort of just not been able to find that sort of early contact they really needed to in this map. I mean, time and time again, their offense just has found 0 contact. Now, to be fair, they're running double initiator, double controller. Their offense isn't going to be as strong as maybe Keanu's, but they're running double duelist. So at the same time, Keanu's offense is probably going to look pretty good, and their defense shouldn't look super strong. So I mean, NAIT's just working against a lot here, and they're not putting up as much as they should be able to.
Yeah, it definitely feels like they should be able to do more. Now, the Null Command and the Reckoning do come out onto this A site. It definitely seems like this is where NAIT want this to end in the round, but Tiny is still able to go huge again, and he gets a 3rd. Chris M's able to find Kieran, and now it is Karo effectively in a 1v5. He is able to find the first onto Tiny, but Chris M is able to finish that round. It is a 9th, and that was a huge round by ults for NAIT.
Yeah, and you know, that was one of those rounds. We've seen a few rounds here and there where it was kind of close. Keanu lost the majority of their players, and that's sort of where we were in, was sort of this, for a few rounds anyways, where Keanu was not able to completely dominate, but that was one of those rounds that just end so quickly that you really can't say too much about what NAIT did good there, because they really couldn't do a whole lot. They used the null command, they used the reckoning, and didn't find value out of either of them, as Tiny was just able to push through both and find 3 kills.
Yeah, and now we see this kind of aggressive A split getting ready. Trusty Toucan able to take out Savo immediately as Senja responds on a trade onto Caro. The spike's immediately getting planted very, very quickly. Now, it is 9-1. So something should be said that Keanu's retake ability is pretty good, but Chris M, the barrel betrays him as Kieran is able to find another Trusty Toucan, able to find Senja. It's Tiny and Bondo, 2v4. What can they do? Tiny in towards cave, able to do something crazy. Bondo in towards door, he's able to find Brazy. Ruriken trying to fend off Tiny. It isn't going to come through. It was a 2v4 on the retake, and the Huskies are able to do it again.
I mean, the 2 players you want to be fragging well is your Yoru, and apparently your IGL is Bondo, able to once again be a high performer, as we saw from Bondo on Haven, continuing to do just that on Breeze. We're going to the last round of the half. We could be looking at an 11-1 half, which means it only takes 2 wins in a row from Keanu to win the map, which means really all they realistically need to do if we switch halves on 11-1 is get that pistol. So really, really, NAIT needs to push for a win here. This is a very pivotal round to win, because otherwise they'll have to win the pistol in their next half. And against a team that's looking as powerful as Keanu is, that's not going to be an easy task for anybody.
100%. Again, it just seems like they're choosing to run it through cave. The Hunter's Fury comes out and is able to find a pick onto Kieran. Oh my goodness. Now the Recon Bolt looking to come in, as well as this Cascade and the Toxic Screen from NAIT's side. Now Bondo, sitting in towards the side, is able to find one. Senja with a spam through his smoke on the reveal of his tripwire. And Bondo, with 4 kills in the round, closes it out. 11-1, flawless round.
I mean, that was just a round where it looked like NAIT had given up hope. They just completely ran it down through A main. Choke point was taken advantage of, as they clearly got shut down in that attempt to push through. I'm worried for this side of NAIT, where they go 13-4 on Haven. There was a chance maybe on Breeze they'd be able to do something, but I mean, every single time, I'm going to be honest, there are very few times, maybe Red Bull Campus Glitch was the only time I could say they struggled. Most of the time I see Keanu do very dominant performances, and that didn't change on this map. We just saw we saw Haven go very well, and Keanu's continuing to do well. They get this pistol, like I mentioned before that 12th round. If Keanu gets this pistol, that could be the map, because then they'll have gun advantage for the next round.
Absolutely. As we see Tiny and Savo peering up through elbow, Chris M places his Toxic Screen in towards the B site. If Trusty Toucan tries to swing and clear, he does try, and Savo punishes. Caro is able to find Bondo, and he's able to find Savo as well, but Chris M jumping around, able to get the trade. It's a 3v3 on the retake as Senja tries to reflank up mid. He's able to find a pick onto Brazy. Tiny flashes Ruriken as Senja again looks in, is able to get Ruriken. It's a 1v3 for Kieran, and he isn't able to close it out. It's a match point with an 11-round lead for the Huskies.
Yeah, that's, I said all Keanu needed to do is get that pistol, and it does look like our Huskies, the Keanu Huskies, are going to be pushing for a 2-0 to start off the NECC Champions Division. I mean, I'm blown away so far by this performance. I think NAIT, they just need to deny early vision. They're gonna have a disadvantage in the gun department. I think they should just go for an aggressive play on this defense. Just try and push through very quickly against this offense.
And Savo immediately with a first pick on the Trusty Toucan. And now the time seems nigh. The clock approaching midnight for NAIT in this match. It's the first week of NECC regular season in the Champions Division. Caro is able to find Savo, but Tiny immediately trades out. ADS tip-tap away for Tiny. Bondo's able to steal the kill onto Ruriken. It's Brazy and Kieran. Oh, it's just Brazy. 1v4 retake. Spike is down. What can you do? The Sheriff is out. Bondo isn't able to close it out just yet. Brazy still has some life in him. He's able to get a shot onto Senja. Oh, the 360 from
Ooh.
Chris Am. Not like this, guys. It's 12-1. Tiny teleporting in towards Arches.
There's no time.
Brazy sticks the spike. Does it? Hold on. No,
That's
he
it.
gets off. Unfortunately, that's it. Brazy gets the 4th kill, but he isn't able to defuse. It's 13-1 on map 2. It's a 2-0 for the Huskies in week 1 of NECC Valorant.
Yeah, what a monstrous start to the regular season for Keanu. A 2-0 to start it off against a team that isn't horrible. Usually, I don't think NAIT is a team that typically gets destroyed like this, and they seem to put together in their playstyle a lot of the time, but they struggle to do what a lot of teams struggle to do against Keanu, which is they kind of go for these set executes, and then once they get shut down, they don't really know what to do, and then they struggle on their defense. And that was sort of the story, as we didn't really get to see much of the defense from NAIT, but the rounds we did see, obviously, it was a flawless defense from Keanu. So I mean, I'm looking pretty confident in Keanu, or I think Keanu should be pretty confident moving forward. You know what? They didn't qualify for the Nationals Red Bull Campus Clutch this past weekend. There's still a chance for them to do that. I think after this performance, they definitely could do just that.
All right. Well, before we head off, Sleepy, who do you want to nominate as MVP for today? Who caught your eye?
That is a good question. Obviously, we've got this player in hold on, let me think about this. We've got Tiny, did very, very well on Breeze for sure. But we also had Bondo consistently putting up high numbers. Considering Bondo's the IGL, I think I got to give it to Bondo. Both the IGL and a monstrous initiator player putting up high numbers in both matches. I gotta give it to Bondo. Once again, looking like a very impressive player.
All right, Bondo buddies, rise up. But it is now time for everyone else in the world to go to bed. It's a late night type of broadcast. I'm Ancient Angel, casting with me Sleepy Boy, and I think it is time that we say goodnight. Good night, everyone.
Good night.